Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is just a little lesson about the capo, or as Americans call it on YouTube, the capo. So we'll call it the capo, which is this little bad boy here, which basically changes the way that your guitar sounds. It has the effect of essentially moving the nut, which I always think is a funny word, up the guitar. So at the moment we're in the key of E. Essentially, that means that your open strings relate to the E chord very easily, E minor. Your open strings, obviously E, A, D, G, B and E, most of those notes are in a kind of E minor chord. So a lot of, obviously, heavy metal is in E minor because it's just simply a case of going. E major as well, quite easy to play. So that's minor, E major. Now what happens is when you put the capo on your guitar, let's say we put it on the first fret, that note is an F, that has the effect of essentially bringing your guitar into the key of F in its open tuning. So an F chord can be played with the same pattern as an E chord. And then the same applies if you bring it up one more fret, that's an F sharp, so now we're in F sharp. And etc, etc, G. So you get the idea. It's essentially a way of moving the nut up the neck, and a lot of people choose to view this whole experience. So let's say you put it on the A note there on the 5th fret. People sort of view the guitar now as starting from that point, so that becomes your new entry position, and everything below you can just think of as dead space. Now there's a few videos online about where to actually position the capo, a lot of people say you should do it as close as you possibly can to the fret, without kind of going too far, and I think that's good advice. The only thing I would say is that sometimes certain chords, like the C chord, you can slightly have a bit of a problem getting your first finger in position without catching this bottom bit of the capo there. Some people also like to slightly angle it if you're struggling to play a C major chord, particularly because the first finger tends to be quite low. So you can do that. And Fs as well. F shapes, I should say. It does just give you a little bit of breathing room, but really, you know, you should be able to put it quite close to the top there and not have any significant issues. Another really good piece of advice is if you're going to play a piece, if you're busking, for example, and you put the capo on, if you sort of place it from the top down and slightly move it, the tension on your neck is going to be all over the place. So what you can then do is tune the guitar after you've placed it on. So let's say you now need an A. You can start to tune your guitar with that A note. I've actually got a tuner on this guitar. Just a good idea to tune it to the actual tuning that you're using with your capo. It just makes it a little bit better. You'll want to use this because it just makes playing in different keys quite straightforward. So if you don't want to be barring all the time and using your first finger as essentially the replacement of a capo, I mean, that's kind of what you do when you're playing your bar chord. Let's say you want to be in the key of B, for example. You can put your capo on that fret, on the 7th fret, and then you can essentially lose the finger. Which is a really nice way of just changing up how the guitar sounds. And actually sometimes it makes it feel like the guitar's in a kind of new open tuning because these are now your open strings. One of the most classic pieces of music that people actually buy a capo for in the first place is Wonderwall from Oasis. You'll agree, I think, that that sounds very different to removing it. In fact, I usually stick it on the end of the guitar there just to kind of keep it handy with an acoustic. When you have it in this key, in E, loses a little bit of its magic. I don't know why. Some people also just use a capo because if your voice is in a certain key and you're used to singing at a certain pitch, one of the best ways to transpose the guitar into that pitch is just simply to move it up the neck, and if you want to sing a bit higher, play the same piece that you already know how to play, same song, a little bit higher. So let's say you want to sing Wonderwall but your voice is a little bit higher than Noel Gallagher. You could put careful how you hold it. You can put it 1 fret higher up here on the G, and then you can play it here. And I don't doubt that Noel Gallagher would have done that if that was the range that his voice was in. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. I don't tend to play with the capo that much, just because I like the way the guitar sounds in open tuning, but it's worth having one. They're very, very cheap as well. You can get them for about £5 or sometimes, you know, £3 or £4. But it's just worth having an experiment, because if you've never tried it, you'll never know. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in another video. There's loads more tips for beginners and acoustic players on the channel, so just subscribe and you won't miss anything. See you soon.